here from Hypnotherapy in the United Kingdom, and I'm here with Max Otazu from the Mind Medic Academy in California in the United States of America. And today we're getting together because we're going to have a chat about how many sessions that you need for hypnosis.
So, Dr. Becca Helen, I have a quick question for you. This has come up several times for myself, and people have asked, how many sessions will I need of hypnotherapy to get over my issues? You can read on the internet that it says anywhere between like 3 and 13 for this, that, and the other. In your personal practice, how effective has that been? What are your numbers looking like?
Okay, well, it depends, I think, of what the intention is for the hypnotherapy. What is it actually that the client wants to achieve in the therapy? What is it that they actually want to overcome? So in my personal practice, I don't prescribe a particular number of sessions. However, for something like a fear or a phobia, that's generally my experience, something that can be overcome in just one session with maybe, if necessary, a top-up session a short while later. But with other things like for more deep-rooted anxiety or PTSD or, overcoming more deep-rooted problems, then it's likely that your client will need more than one session. But I always say to my clients, I'm following you. You are my guide, and I'm not in your head. So you tell me how many sessions you think you need. Following on from the first session, come back next week. Then we'll see. We'll take it from there.
Yeah, that's perfect. I very much reflect that same ideology. I think that there's a lot of idea of how intense is the issue as well. It's not so much of what it is, if it's PTSD or if it's, like you said earlier, a fear or phobia. How intense is it? And another thing that we have to talk about also is, I guess, threshold. People that want to come to us and they're not at their so what is threshold? Let's kind of just go through that first.
Yeah.
What is threshold? Threshold is an imaginary line that somebody crosses, that they finally say, no, I'm done living like this. I refuse to go on any further. And I need help today. I need you to help me. That's what we refer to as threshold in hypnotherapy.
Yeah. And that's really important. For example, sorry to interrupt you there. I was say that's really important for things like giving up smoking.
Absolutely.
That's actually got to be, the client has got to make that decision that they actually want to change. Because if you don't get that, you're right, I agree with you totally. If they're not at threshold, then really they're not going to put the effort in and they're not going to be ready to make those changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing to say, and I'm not trying to be all disparaging with other people, but who are you going to go see? It's not a mystery. It's not something that's been hidden away, but there are people that are better at hypnosis than others. I mean, let's just be honest. You have people that vary at different levels of skill, experience, how much training have they been exposed to, and there's various different things like that. So when somebody comes to us and they ask, well, how many sessions am I going to need to get over my trauma? Just like Dr. Becca had said, it really depends on the person. I've worked with somebody who has come to me, had PTSD for over 2 years, to the place that he had to go hide away during a party in the bathroom just to let himself kind of become calm again. I had 2 sessions with him, a grand total of about 30 minutes. You can go on YouTube and go see one of those videos if you want to. But he's not dealing with PTSD anymore. So it really is dependent on the person, not necessarily the hypnotist or a prescribed amount of sessions.
And what we often find, as you will know, the issue that they come with is not generally the issue that's going on that actually presents. Often it's the issue. I said the issue is never the issue. So sometimes a client will come and they think they need help with one particular thing, but it actually turns out to be something else when you've done a little bit of questioning and a little bit of digging around, and you've maybe done your first session, and then that whatever it is that's been lurking around in the background comes to the surface, and then it's that we end up dealing with.
Yeah. Let me ask you, do you have any like personal instances of that, like where you thought that something was going on with a particular client, they came in and they said it's this, and then when they drop into hypnosis, it was something that happened like way over here?
Yeah, I mean, that's happened quite a few times, to be fair. Generally when clients come, especially with things like sleeping problems, or related to to anxiety, and they find that they don't sleep properly. They're waking up several times a night, so that affects their thinking. They're tired, they're exhausted, they get anxious in certain situations. And then when you actually unpick that, it stems back to something that's probably happened years and years and years ago that they haven't actually resolved, that's impacting on the here and now. So that's why we focus on sorting out that particular issue.
Yeah.
Which then has a knock-on effect, and they find they sleep like a baby.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the issue is not always the issue.
Yeah. And I was watching on one of your videos just recently. I'll tag in all your information below. But I was watching one of your videos that you were talking about the emotional detox and just how effective that is. Many times I will have clients come to me and I will just use the emotional detox 1, 2, 3 times in a row.
Yes.
And we won't even touch the issue. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask, so how's everything going on right now? Oh, I feel great. We haven't even touched what he was talking about. All I was doing is just let go of those fights, and it's like it's over. When
A
you
lot of that baggage, a lot of that emotional baggage that people carry around actually impacts on the here and now. So the things that you haven't dealt with growing up, going through as a young adult, being a teenager, going through life, especially, I see a lot of clients who are in their 40s and 50s and 60s. They get to this point in life, and so you think you've got a lot of life experience behind you, a lot of things. They've been through marriages, they've been through, family breakdowns, they've been through loss of parents, or things going on at work, and they carry all that emotion around with them. And then by the time, they get to later years in life, they are exhausted, or they're struggling with the stress or the anxiety. So by helping them release some of that baggage that they're carrying around, for want of a better word, emotional baggage, that they don't actually even realize what they're carrying around, but allowing them the opportunity to release that safely then frees their mind up and allows them to move forward and achieve the things that they now want to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And there was one thing that you had mentioned as well that had kind of got me thinking as well. When you have somebody who's been dealing with something for several weeks, months, years, you develop maladaptive thinking and behaviors that are associated with that. So even when we get rid of that issue, the client sometimes still has to decondition some of those maladaptive thoughts and behaviors. So that is some people will come back and say, well, I'm still doing some of the same things. I understand that. Have you been doing some of the homework that we've been giving you? I think that's something that we need to talk about as well. Do you give your clients homework? Is there something that you give them? Are you giving them EFT? Are you giving them, progressive muscle relaxations that they're to perform on themselves? How does that work in your practice personally?
Yeah. Well, I use a lot of NLP techniques as well as hypnosis. So the idea of that is to help the client change their thinking and adapt their thinking, to reframe things and maybe see things in a bit of a different way. But also, yes, I do give my clients homework, give them maybe emotional freedom techniques, or give them breathing techniques to do, or positive affirmations. We often talk about, I often look at therapy as a more of a holistic approach as well. To me, it's not just about the hypnosis, it's sometimes about the other things that you do. So it could be about, changing some habits. But for example, maybe looking at a different diet, maybe looking at what drinks are you drinking, what alternatives are there to alcohol, maybe, or to sugary drinks that may be impacting on your sleep, or what else can you do to change the way that you live your life to improve it. So we talk about lots of different things. I mean, you've got to bear in mind that we can't give medical advice. I am a doctor, but I'm a doctor of education, not medicine. So, we do have to be careful. We're not diagnosing, and we are not prescribing. We're not giving medical advice, but we're giving general advice that can help somebody improve their quality of life.
One thing that you had mentioned back when you were answering your question about not prescribing things, but you were giving them thoughts about considering dietary things. I want to kind of tag into this just a little bit, because this kind of almost goes into the field of coaching, because we're not doing just hypnotherapy and sending you toddling off along your way. we are legitimately, we're preparing our clients to go to the next step of not just holistic healing, but now how do I progress forward? What kind of goals can I set for myself? And
Yeah.
so when the question is asked, how many sessions do I need? This goes right back to what you were saying earlier, just, well, what are you wanting to achieve? That is a perfect answer. That is perfect. Because I personally have a client right now that we are working on probably her 10th or 11th session now. I'd have to check, but it's something like that. But we're not doing the same thing over and over and over and over. She's had multiple different traumas throughout her life. And right now we're kind of getting to a place that it's life coaching. Through all of this, she's kind of developing the idea that she has ADHD. And so I'm now giving her other key tools and tricks and things that she's able to use to integrate those things into her life. So
Absolutely.
it has essentially become life coaching. So it really depends on, again, who are you going to go see? What are you trying to achieve? And how intense are those issues that you've been dealing with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything that you want to add on that?
No, I think you've nailed it. I think you've nailed it quite well there. I think you've covered everything really. Yeah, I do. I think it's about choosing wisely, isn't it, as well? It's about choosing wisely and making sure that the person that you're going to see is actually, that you can actually work with them.
Yeah.
And it isn't just about hypnotherapy. We're actually looking at, like I said, looking at therapy from a holistic approach. That, we're not just looking, there's no point doing loads of really good work in a session, but then when you go home, nothing's changed because you're going to undo what you've done. So you have to make other changes in your life, maybe doing things just slightly different. Sometimes it doesn't have to be massive changes, but sometimes, the littlest changes, the smallest changes, are the one that might make the biggest difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
So thank you so much, Max, for talking with me and sharing your experiences about hypnotherapy. It's been really interesting talking to you. So thank you once again for everyone watching. And if you've any questions, then don't hesitate to drop Max or myself an email or contact us. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. Most social media we're on, so don't hesitate to get in touch. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.